Welcome everyone to our event today, No Sex Please, We're Therapists, our online interview with Stephanie Palin. Welcome Steph to our event this evening.
Thank you, John. Good to be here.
It's lovely to have you with us tonight, and also like to extend a warm welcome to everyone who's joined us online from wherever you are in the world. Just to say something quickly about how the event works. Although Steph and I can hear and see each other, we can't hear or see the participants online, but we can see the chat room. So if you want to say hello to us in the chat room, maybe pop a comment or a question in, both Steph and I will be watching the chat and hopefully responding to as much as we can this evening. And we've also got our chat room facilitator, Saz, who's in the room, and if you're having any problems, please let her know. Oh, Steph, are you having some audio problems there? Are you okay?
Well, purely because I was looking on my connection with you, John, and on the website, and that was giving me an echo.
Ah, right. You're getting to hear me twice. Never a good thing.
I know, that's so wonderful, John.
Okay, so maybe Steph, I can start off by asking you to tell us a little bit about your background. Give us a sense of how you've arrived here.
Yeah, sure. Well, I came into counselling from being a science teacher, which is a bit of a strange journey. But I was head of science in a school that was in quite a socially deprived area, and realised that a lot of the problems that I and my staff were encountering in the classroom were to do with the really complicated lives that the children led at home, you know, with parents and step-parents and single parents and what have you. And so I began to think that actually if I could do something to help the parents, it might make the job in school a bit easier. And so I trained to be a couple therapist whilst still teaching. And I've been doing that for 25 years now, and fairly quickly left teaching to work full-time, training counsellors, couple therapists, and then more a short while after that, sex therapists, which I still do. So I still work on a master's programme training sex therapists to work in the National Health Service in the UK and within Relate, which, as some of you will know, is a couple counselling and family counselling UK-based charity. And as part of the Relate work, I've worked along with a colleague in developing their online relationship counselling survey. Fingers crossed, when we get the funding, we'll be developing sex therapy online too, and which I already do in my private practice, which is largely working with English-speaking people, British UK citizens who are living in non-English-speaking countries and who, you know, can't find help, particularly with sexual problems in the areas that they live in. Oh.
Wow, so it's quite a lot of experience you have, Steph, and perhaps an unusual start to counselling, working as a science teacher.
Indeed, yes. It's not a natural link, is it?
yeah, unusual. But I guess I can see what you're saying about the experience the children were having at home and how you could kind of get another way in to supporting the children that way.
Yeah, absolutely. And you know, hopefully that's what you do when you're working with relationships and with families. You're helping to make their lives a little more straightforward.
Yes, yeah, like that's hopefully the end result of that process. And I think what brings us together in an interview tonight is often as therapists, when we're working with couples and even individuals, it can be a struggle with us to think about their sexual experiences or to be open to what they need to tell us about their own experiences of sex. And I know that's something you've spent a lot of time working with and supporting therapists with.
Yes, it is. And I mean, it's interesting how many people say to me, do you know, yeah, I did a diploma in counselling, or I've got an MA, and I've never, ever once thought about people's sex lives. We've never had any teaching about it, we've never talked about it, and yet, yes, you're right, it's a really important aspect of people's lives. And I guess there's often a natural reluctance to talk about sex lives, and it's amazing how many people of different cultures will say, "Oh, it's not part of my culture to talk about sex," and I think, well, name a culture that it is. You know?
Yes,
because
absolutely.
Actually, in most cultures, sex is a very private and personal activity. And so to talk about it is not what people do. And so it's even more difficult, to think, when people have got sexual problems, to want to talk about them. And often, you know, people will find themselves in therapy and not be able to raise the topic. And if the therapist doesn't, then they could talk about all sorts of things and never actually get to the heart of the fact that they've got a sexual problem. And I find the same is true with doctors. I do some input with doctors who are just starting their out as family doctors, as GPs, and they say, "Well, how will I know if one of my patients has got a sexual problem?" And I say, "Well, easy, just ask them." And they go, "Oh, what? Right, just like that? Yeah, that'll work."
So it's the most obvious thing to just say to a patient. The GP say, "Well, is there an issue in your sex life?"
Yeah, that's right. Or, you know, I mean, obvious some of the medical conditions that people have, or people simply being depressed. And how's this impacting on your sex life? It's such a simple question to ask. And yet, of course, if the patient or the client in counselling then says, "Well, now you mention it, yeah, it is affecting my sex life," you've then also got to have the tools to know what to do about it. You know, so it isn't just a matter of thinking, "Oh, I can ask that one question," because then you might be opening something up that you then need to go on and explore in more detail with them.
So as a therapist, we're very much probably coming from a culture in society and in our families that says, "Oh, you don't talk about that, it's private." And then
Absolutely.
if we do manage to talk about it, it's like, well, what do we then say? How do we open that up properly?
Yeah. Because, I mean, if you ask most people, and even young people, how did you find out about sex? Was it talked about in your family? And the vast majority of people will say, "Oh, no. Oh, we had a few lessons at school, but mostly I learned about it from friends, or trial and error, experimentation." And these days, increasingly, young people, quite worryingly, are finding out about sex by watching pornography on the internet.